So I'm going to go ahead and get started since we are recording. So whoever decides to join us in a little bit, we can they can check the recording. Um, so my name is Erica Daigle. I'm the academic technology specialist at LSU Online. I have with me today my colleague Patrick Newcomb, who is formerly of the registrar's office, but now of LSU Online. So he's going to have a little part to play later on in this presentation. So in a little bit, when we start talking about mainframe, I'll hand it over to him, and he can show. I'm sorry, I'm having cat issues here. You can see his ears. See. I'll hand it over to him, and he'll talk to you a little bit about what that looks like on the mainframe. So. I'm hoping this goes smoothly. This is our first virtual offering of this workshop. So I apologize ahead of time for any issues that we might have, but we are recording. And if you can't talk, please do feel free to type in the chat. I'll check that, and because it flashes for me and I can see when you post a question. So, and if there's anything that I talk about or that Patrick talks about that you might have questions about later on, please feel free to email us. I'm going to include our information in a follow-up email. So you have our our resource forever if you want to talk to us about cross-enrollment. We also do send out reminder emails at the beginning of every term. We send out about a month ahead of time, ahead of term start for LSU Online. And now, since the terms are going to be aligned starting in fall, so that will be a month ahead of the start of the entire full fall semester, and then a month ahead of the middle of the term start. So now they're called first fall and second fall, just like so they'll have the same name for LSU Online and for campus. You'll see that change in the academic calendar. This is very important for cross-enrollment purposes, as you'll see in a few minutes. And Patrick can talk a little bit about what that looks like on the mainframe side in a little while. So we will be sending those reminders, and then I send out a second reminder. Hey, look, okay, you know what? It's time for you to go. I send out a second reminder about 2 weeks ahead, 2 weeks before the term starts, just to make sure that anybody who has not submitted for cross-enrollment gets their information in, and we can put you into the code that we send to ITS. So you will have a couple of reminder emails coming through that has all of the same information that I'm going to give you today. So it's not like you have to listen today and then remember months ahead of time. So let's go ahead and get started. So a couple of things that we're going to accomplish today. So in this session, we're going to talk about these things. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my video so that we can just sort of talk through the maybe if I could figure out what I'm doing here, that would be awesome. Okay, great. So I can talk through the PowerPoint. So we're going to talk about what cross-enrollment is, how do we define that, what it means. We're going to talk a little bit about when we can or should cross-enroll, and what kinds of courses should be cross-enrolled, like what are the situations in which we cross-enroll. We're also going to talk a little bit about the steps that are involved and who should be involved in those steps from each department. And then we'll talk a little bit about the timeline. So I have a sort of a little sheet that I've created that has, that has the sort of a calendar type sheet that has the people that are responsible for each step of the process, and then when those steps should be accomplished. So those are the things we're going to do. So let's start off with our definition. So when we say cross-enrollment, what we mean is this is combining different Moodle populations into one single Moodle course. So we're not talking about on the registration side. On the registration side, those students are still separate. They're still either LSU Online students or um, they are LSU campus students. What we mean is that we're combining them in Moodle. So we have 3 separate groups of students that we can do this with. The campus enrolled students that are enrolled in a web-based campus course. And these are courses that are the half semesters, now called the accelerated terms. And then because those terms need to align for cross-enrollment, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little while, they need to be the same length. So we can't, for example, cross-enroll a full semester course with an LSU Online course because the LSU Online course is only 7.5 weeks. And the full term obviously is 16. So the students would be on completely different timelines. So this is an LSU campus course that is the web-based half semester or accelerated. I want to try to use the new terminology as much as possible. And then we also have our LSU Online courses, as I was saying. And then we have what we are calling our microcred courses, which are 7.5 week courses that we run through our own version of Moodle on online and continuing education Moodle site. So, and I'll explain all of that stuff. So it's just taking those students that are in those Moodle courses and then popping them into one Moodle course so that it's one section that the instructor has to teach. This is not mandatory, so it's not something that you have to do. It's something that you might find beneficial. You can choose to cross-enroll in any term, except I have a little asterisk there because the second summer is we don't recommend cross-enrolling this summer. And I know we're already started in the first summer term of LSU Online, but and campus summer starts on June 8th. Excuse me. But we don't recommend cross-enrolling in the summer this year because the terms are not aligned. They're actually about a month off. LSU Online first summer already started on May the 6th, I think it was. It was a long time ago. I don't even remember anymore. May the 4th, even farther. And so those students that are in LSU campus web-based courses would have been waiting for 1 month because the students still have to follow their own calendars according to where they were enrolled. So we do not recommend that for second summer, but starting in the first fall, the terms will be exactly aligned. They have all of the same academic calendar dates. If you check out the accelerated calendar on the academic calendar site at lsu.edu, you'll see that there is no distinction between LSU Online, the LSU Online calendar, and the B and C set, what we're used to call the B and C sessions for campus. They're all the same thing. So we used to have a separate LSU Online calendar that was displayed there, that was linked there, and that's no longer the case because they've aligned those terms fully. So it's entirely up to the department whether or not you would like to create a half semester course and then cross-enroll it on campus and then cross-enroll it with LSU Online. And there are a couple of reasons why your department might decide to do this. It does help with teaching efficiency, so in terms of schedules and possible cost effectiveness and student numbers, really. We have, in some courses, we have more students than in campus web-based course, and we only have 1 or 2 students in an LSU Online course. We can combine those into one roster so that the instructor is not teaching 2 students in LSU Online and 25 students on campus in the same exact course. So we can combine those populations in the LSU Online course, and everybody can take the same course all at once, and the instructor is only responsible for that one section. And that could be a possible cost-effectiveness measure for the department. We're also really concerned about student experience. So in terms of, we want the students, all the students who are taking the same exact course on the web-based campus and for LSU Online to have the same experience. And so this guarantees that they'll be in the same course and looking at the same things, using the same resources and all that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of different reasons why you might choose to do it. The most common reason I can tell you is that there are very few students in one section of the course and a lot of students in the other section of the course. And it's kind of weird to just be over here teaching one person or two people. And so people combine those courses in Moodle so that it's a little bit more effective and efficient. To answer Karen's question, yes, I will be sending this to you, so for you to look at afterwards, along with the link to the recording. So. And if you have any ideas or questions about, situations in which you think might, cross-enrollment might be useful, feel free to reach out and ask. We may have seen something before that you're going through in your department. So, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions about whether or not you think cross-enrollment might be cool or good for you. So I want to talk a little bit about the specific scenarios that we have. We have 3 specific scenarios that we cross-enroll. And this one, I will tell you, is the most common. So the first scenario is that you have a web-based campus, which is what I was just talking about. The terms that I have in parentheses underneath these, in these little like shapes with colors, are just examples. It doesn't have to be first fall. It could be second fall. It could be first spring, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted you to kind of take a look at and see how those things align with each other. So it's placing a web-based campus students from their Moodle into the LSU Online Moodle course. And so combining the web-based campus students from a first fall offering with the LSU Online students for a first fall offering in Moodle. Like I said, those registrations and those, the place where the students actually live, like in the mainframe, are still separate. But this is just in Moodle, so the site of instruction. And so then those people would all be combined in the one LSU Online Moodle course for first fall. And I'll show you in a few minutes what that looks like in the user list. You can tell the difference between your campus students and your LSU Online students. And we'll take a look at what that looks like. Does anyone have any questions about what this scenario here? Awesome. Okay, so yeah.
Oh no, I was just answering that I didn't have any questions.
Oh, thanks, Melissa. So just to reiterate, this has to be first fall to first fall, second fall to second fall, etc. So we can't do, like, if you decide that I don't know why you would do this, but you can't do like a second fall to a first fall, that kind of thing. It makes complete sense when you go to put it in the mainframe anyway. So, okay, so the second scenario, which is a little bit more rare because not all departments have microcreds running with LSU Online, is the microcred to LSU and plus LSU Online student population combination. And so just to explain a little bit about what a microcred is, it's short for microcredential. And actually, as Sasha likes to, or Dr. Thackerberry likes to say, trademarked by us. So microcred is our own baby word. So a microcredential is just a credential that is smaller than a degree, or a certificate. So it is a series of courses, in this case 3 courses that are combined together for a credential that you could put on your resume or your Vita or on your LinkedIn or whatever. That combines or that completes a set of skills or a certain set of required courses for that micro-credential. For example, we have a couple of construction management micro-credentials. One is for a sort of introductory series to construction management, and another one is a little bit more technical. So you could be pretty broad with that, a series of 3 courses, or you could get down to some specifics and and go off into different branches of your topic or your subject area. So so this is not going to apply to a lot of people, but I just want everybody to know that this is possible because we are working on verticals, meaning that we are trying to get departments to think about what kinds of micro credentials they could offer. So if you do think of some micro credentials that maybe your department or your program could offer, let us know. And so, and these could be the little groups of courses that you choose that are related to each other, and even in the larger sort of more broadly conceived programs like Masters of Liberal Arts or Bachelors of Interdisciplinary Studies, you could pick out little strands of connected courses there to do that. So, so anyway, we run those micro-credential courses in our online and continuing education Moodle site because those micro-credential courses are open to everyone. They're not just for LSU students. Anybody can apply to them and take them. Well, they don't have to apply, actually, which is the point. They don't have any enrollment requirements, as you see down at the bottom here. So we don't have to have any kind of, submission of a degree or GRE scores or any kind of, test scores or anything like that. They are pretty wide open. So so that's why we have to run those in our OCE Moodle site, because we can't restrict the students by the single sign-on, which is how, if you've ever logged into LSU Online Moodle or Campus Moodle, you know that you have to put in your LSU credentials to log in. So these students may not have LSU credentials because they're not officially LSU students. So we host them in a Moodle site where that is not required. So, so that's just a little bit about what we're doing in our OCE Moodle site. And also, those courses are not restricted by time. So now they are when they're run. We run them on the 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks, just like we do, the LSU Online course. But in that Moodle site, we don't have any control that we don't have anything running in the background that controls the length of time that a course is open. So we're pretty free with how we can run those courses. For example, in Mainframe, make sure that courses are populated or they're created in Moodle at a certain time, and to get ready for the terms that are coming up. And then, they run for a certain number of weeks and the instructor can either close them or whatever according to the academic calendar. And we don't have those kind of controls in OCE Moodle. So that's just a little explanation of what's going on over there. And so we can do the same thing with LSU Online students. So if you have an LSU Online course that is also one of your micro-credential courses, you can combine those students, but they have to be combined in OCE Moodle because of what I said earlier about some students not having the SSO abilities, not having the LSU credentials. And I know this doesn't apply to a lot of people, but I just wanted you guys to be aware of this process. And so again, if you can think of any micro-credentials for your department, let us know. We're always looking for new ideas for that. So this may apply to you in the future. So the big one is to combine all of these populations into one. So basically, we're not really limited in the number of Moodle instances that we can combine students from. We just have to teach everyone in one place, basically, at the end of it all. But you'll notice that anytime we include these micro-credential students, we have to teach the course in OCE Moodle. So because, again, of the single sign-on. So you might have, and actually construction management has done this. They have a web-based campus course that is the same course running at the same time as their LSU Online course, and at the same time they're running one of their micro-credential courses. So they would like to just loop all these folks into one place and teach them all in one place. So we have, and I'll show you in a few seconds, we have a way to route all of the students to that one Moodle course so that they can take, do all of their stuff there. I do want to clarify in a few minutes, I'll talk a little bit about how that actually works in Moodle, and then we'll talk about how that actually works in mainframe. But I do want to clarify that the students are still housed in their original Moodle sites. So the web-based campus course people are still in Moodle, in campus Moodle. They're still there. They're just copied over here. So their enrollment is copied. So it's not that they disappear from campus roles or mainframe or anything like that. This is just copying their Moodle enrollment so that they can all be taught in one convenient place. So I don't want you to think that there's anything like that going on behind the scenes. As Patrick is going to show you, they are still going to be firmly enrolled in the courses that they are supposed to be enrolled in, depending on, what program they're in. So LSU Online programs, as you may or may not know, are fully separate from campus programs. So only LSU Online students can be enrolled in LSU Online programs. So this can only be done in, I think of it as sort of a cosmetic thing. It can be done for teaching purposes, but as far as registrar is concerned, these people are still housed in their original spots that they registered. And so that's what this is, this beautiful image that I created tells you. It all works in Moodle, but they are still in their places and they are still beholden to whatever the rules and regulations are of their particular programs. So whatever college they belong to, whatever department, whatever degree, they are still supposed to abide by those rules and deadlines and all that kind of stuff. So it's not that everybody sort of turns into an LSU Online student or turns into a microcred student or anything like that. So on the student side, this is what it looks like. The web campus student, the LSU Online student, the microcred student, they would all register just like they would. Campus students register for their, whatever session is the half session. And we're going to talk about what you have to create to make this happen in a few minutes. They register for their campus course. And of course, we're going to tell them ahead of time that that it's going to be 100% online, because we don't want to trick them into thinking that they're going to have a campus course, but then, oh, guess what? It's online. And we'll talk a little bit about that and how to make that distinction in mainframe and what that looks like there. They would register there. LSU Online students would register for LSU Online course. And I do want to point out that when students go to register, when they go to My LSU Online students and campus students do have different My LSU pages. They have separate My LSU pages that send them to automatically to the right registration page. So it's not like they're choosing between, they're looking at a list of, oh, I can pick LSU Online courses if I want, or I can pick web campus courses. It's not like that. They only see, LSU Online students only see LSU Online courses, and web campus students only see campus. So there's not a chance that people can get crisscrossed or anything like that. Micro-credential students register through Genzabar, which is a completely separate system that we have for OCE. And so that process is just has nothing to do with mainframe at all. And we're not going to talk about that today because it's completely different. And if you're not hosting a micro-credential, then it's not really, that important for you to know about it. So, but if you do have questions about how that works, please don't hesitate to ask me. I can't tell you a lot about Genzabar itself, but I can tell you about what students have to do and how that gets set up. So the students come in through their regular channels. They register wherever they would normally register. We get the information, and I'll talk about that process in a few minutes, about which courses are cross-enrolled. And there is someone on our team, on online continuing ed team, that has written the code to put these course populations together in Moodle. We send that code once we get the information about which courses it's going to be. We send that information over to ITS, and then they have to run the code on the back end of Moodle to pull those rosters over. So this takes about 1 week to implement, not because it takes the code 1 week to run, but because they have a lot of stuff to do, and there is, just a lot of back and forth that goes into this process. So um, and you don't really need to know the technical aspects of how that code works or anything like that. Just know that there is a process that takes a little bit of time, and that's why we ask everyone to follow the timeline that we have put in place for this. So, any questions about any of this so far? I realize I skipped question time on the last slide, so if anyone has any questions about this. I'm going to take a sip of drink also. Okay, great. So I want to show you what it looks like in a course that has 2 separate sets of students in it. So this is an LSU Online Moodle, and you can see that there are, and I've helpfully colored the different types of students in yellow and in pink. So you can see that this is a combination of a campus course and an LSU Online course. The campus course will have the LSU tag. So this student, so this is in LSU Online Moodle, this student and this one their roster has been pulled over from campus Moodle. So they have the little LSU on the front of theirs. There's also, and this doesn't really mean anything to you if you don't know anything about enrollment processes, but they will also be designated as IMS enrollment. On the other hand, the LSU Online students who are native to this Moodle, who haven't been pulled from anywhere, they will just have the regular course designation and the section number, and they will be designated as UES enrollment. You may recognize UES as that is sort of part of our parlance in Moodle when we talk about our UES reports. And looking at hidden courses and all that. We have a UES block on the front of our page. So that's what those 2 different kinds of students look like. So when they're pulled in, when this group is pulled into Moodle, they are put into a different group from this set of students, so that you'll always be able to tell and filter, know the difference between those students. Now, this is especially important for student services, because we do have our group of learner concierges for LSU Online who work closely with students, with our enrolled students. And so those LCs, those learner concierges, would be working with this group of people, the people who are designated as LSU Online students, but they would not be working with these students who are from campus. Those students have, so as I mentioned earlier, each group of students still has to, adhere to their their own set of regulations and rules and all that kind of stuff. Those students have their campus, counselors and that kind of thing to help them schedule and all that. They don't have access to the learner concierges who work for LSU Online. So, and vice versa, the learner concierges will never work with campus students. Everybody sort of goes to their own resource, if that makes sense. So when the learner concierge looks into your course, if it's cross-enrolled, they also need to be able to tell who is an LSU Online student. This is an example of a micro-credential course, and you can see that I just wanted to show you the difference here. Again, the students who are pulled in from another Moodle site have the LSU tag on the front. So these are actually LSU Online students. And it's called manual enrollment in OCE Moodle, but it's not actually manual, I don't know. But and so these would be your LSU Online students. This is what happens when we have a student who is not registered as an LSU Online student or a campus student. This is the micro-credential student from off campus. They have no designation here, and their enrollment shows as external database because that's how it OCE Moodle refers to Genzabar. So even though mainframe is also an external database, it only calls Genzabar an external database because that's just how it's programmed. So, but I don't worry too much about remembering exactly what this is, but just so you know that there is a difference there. So now into the nitty-gritty meaty part that Patrick is going to help us with. So what does this actually look like when we go to set this up? So let's say we decide that there's a course or a couple of courses that we want to cross-enroll. And so then we say, okay, so what do I need to do in mainframe to make sure that there are two courses that can be cross-enrolled, right? So basically, a course needs to be created for each group of students that is going to be combined in that Moodle course. So like I said earlier, if you're going to be cross-enrolling a first fall course with from campus with a first fall course from LSU Online, those two courses need to be created so that the students can enroll in them. This is very important, and it's something that a lot of times was forgotten in the past. It's not so much anymore. I think we've gotten a little better about knowing what we need to create. But it used to be that people would just create the LSU Online course, and then they would be like, okay, cross-enroll. And I'd be like, well, there's no campus course for people to sign up for. So they would forget that they had to create the campus course in mainframe. So, and there are a couple of important designations for those courses, for the campus course that you create. It has to be designated 100% web-based, and Patrick's going to show you what that looks like. And that's what these little funky codes are referring to. Those are mainframe codes. And so the reason for that is because when we put the course in the catalog, we need it to display that it's going to be 100% online so that students know what they're signing up for. A bit of a thing to think about, I guess, some food for thought is that normally, these are students who are on campus who are not part of online programs, right? This isn't a fully online program, and it's not an LSU Online program. These students are expecting that their courses are going to be campus courses, right? Face-to-face, if you will, traditional. So when you do this, when we cross-enroll, we are forcing that section to be online. So that is something to consider, that you are, I mean, I don't want to say forcing, but it kind of is, right? You're sort of making those students take online courses when they may not be expecting it. So it's just something to think about as you plan your cross enrollment. how much do you think that that is going to make a difference to the students who are taking a face-to-face degree? Um, because it really does work for our convenience, but it is a consideration for the student experience as well. And most students don't have an issue with this. I mean, they're fine with it as long as like not all of their courses are like this. Once it gets to that point, it's like, well, I'm not taking an online degree. But so I just want to point out, though, the difference there that students definitely do see in the instruction that's face-to-face and online. Although in our design, I know LSU Online tries to make that experience as fully rich and engaging as a campus course. So there may not be much of a quality difference, but it is a learning experience difference. So it is one thing to consider. Um, and then, so at the same time that we create our campus section, which is for half a semester and 100% online, we also have to create our LSU Online section. And this is in terms of I'm just going to talk about those two right now. I'm not really going to get into Genzabar because we're not going to worry about that. So we also create our mainframe entry for LSU Online, and Patrick will show you a little bit about that. So, Patrick, you ready? You up?
Yeah, ready. Ready when you are. Let's
Thanks,
see.
bud.
I need you to allow me to share my screen.
Oh, guys, see, this is one of those bumps in the road that I was just telling you about. Okay, I made you a co-host.
All right.
See if you can do it. One moment, please. We'll see if Patrick can figure it out.
All right. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're just going to use LSU 1001 as our little guinea pig for this. But this is how you create these cross-enrolled sections in the mainframe. So a lot of the stuff that Eric has already talked about is what's happening after you create these instances per term in the mainframe. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to create the LSU Online instance. Um, so the biggest thing for that is just making sure you have the right terms. So for the first fall, that's 1L 2021. And I think Eric and I have gone back and forth, and we have yet to figure out the meaning behind 1L and 3D and all that kind of stuff. So
There is no way to
um,
tell. I don't know.
yeah, so I mean, we all use a list, so you don't need to memorize what
Right. Look,
1L is and all that kind of stuff.
I
Yeah,
always
exactly.
I always have my, oh, you can't see it, but I always have my calendar.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what semester aligns with these dates, just feel free to reach out and ask us, or it's on the calendar on
Yeah.
the registrar's website. So to add an LSU Online section, all you need to do is go to the proper term. So for this is 1L. Put an A for add since you're adding the section. You have to put this special enrollment code of ONL, which is designates LSU Online, and that needs to be input in the first slot. It's one of those weird mainframe things. There's 3 different slots for special enrollment codes. It has to go in that first one. We don't know why. It's just one of those things that reports and things like that start to go haywire if you put it in the second or third one. So just make sure you put it in the first one. And then last but not least, you have to put the time as TBA. But since it's an LSU Online course, it won't have a set meeting time. So after you hit enter, if I can, yeah, it'll show up like this, and that's pretty much what it will look like. I am no longer SRR 1012, so if you see them creating havoc, that's not me. I promise. So that's kind of the easier side of creating this. So we'll look at 1S 2021. So for the upcoming fall, as you can see, there's more data you actually need to input. It all starts with that A for add. I'm sure if you type everything and forget the A, it's going to erase all of it. So just make sure you always put that in whenever you're making changes or adding sections. And then we're going to designate this as session B. B is the first fall and C is the second fall, and it's the same thing for spring. B is the first spring, C is the second spring. I'm not sure if they've decided what they want the summer ones to be yet. I know there's been some conversation
I don't
about
even
that.
know.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm since we already have a summer session A and B, it might be a little different. But for summer, for not for summer, for fall and spring, it's going to be B the first half, C the second half. And then, like Erica said, we want to make sure that these are designated as 100% web-based. So that's putting the WB under delivery method for web-based, and then the W1 to designate it as 100% web-based. And then, once again, you put the TBA as the meeting time, and it'll look a little something like this. This 100% instruction is delivered via the web message at the bottom. That auto-populates once you hit enter and accepts the W1 100% web-based. So one of the things that I wanted to, as you can see on here, it does not designate what dates this is actually taught. There's no auto-populating of when you put B in there as a session, it automatically says it's going to be from this day to this day. So we heavily encourage you to manually put those dates in. There's two ways you can do it. So you can either do a section remark. So you would just stay on the same screen, put an M for modify, and just physically type those dates in at the bottom of the screen, and that will allow it to show up on the course offering when students are looking at classes to enroll in. Or, and that's mainly useful if you're only doing this for one section. If you're doing this for, let's say you have LSU 1001 sections 1 through 10, instead of going in and having to put it on each section, you can go ahead and go to the course remarks, and that's the URMK screen, and you simply just tab down right next to this first arrow, and you type in whatever you want it to display. So that way you can go ahead and notify the students that this is not a full fall or full spring section. This is only going to run from the normal start date to the end of the first half. So are there any questions regarding that?
None in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay, one thing I wanted to just bring up is that, as many people know, you go to the UFAC screen to assign faculty, and I know you're about to talk about this, Erica, but I would highly suggest that as soon as you create this section, go ahead into the UFAC screen and assign the faculty member that will be teaching, because that makes it a lot easier. As Erica will explain, it gets a little dicey if you wait later. So I
Yep.
would just heavily suggest doing that as soon as you create these sections.
Awesome. So, and I'm just gonna go right off onto that topic. The reason why is because, and this might be helpful for you thinking about how these courses affect the students in Moodle. When you and a lot of people don't know this, but I'll explain how this works. Your Moodle course, the course that you teach in Moodle, so we call it a teaching course, but it's just your course, right? Is created for you either 60 or 30 days before the start of the term, whether it's an LSU Online term or a campus term in whichever Moodle that you're working in, right? And the 60 days, 30 days is dependent upon whether or not you choose 60 days or 30 days. The default is 30 days. So you should see your teaching course pop up in Moodle 30 days before you're set to teach. So I actually had an email with an instructor this morning who was asking me about this, and I showed him in Campus Moodle that his course had been created. Let's see, it should have been 5 days ago now, because June 8th is the start of the summer, the first summer term. I think that's A, I think. And I think A and B start on the same day, but they end on different days.
Correct.
Yeah, so everybody's summer courses were created on May 8th, right? So I showed him that he could go in and find his course there. It's empty, right? There's nothing in it. So but it's still there. So that happens only when there is an instructor assigned to the course in mainframe, which is really, really important, right? I'm going to share my screen really quick again to show you, and you're going to see yourself real quick, but that's okay. I'll move you. Oh no, you moved. Can you guys see the course listing page that I have up here? Okay, so and you'll see these names on the side here. That's what we're talking about. So when there is an instructor of record assigned as the primary instructor in the mainframe, then these names are populated over here. These courses, now this is spring, so just forget about that, but these courses are automatically created 30 days ahead of time because these names are here. If a name is not put into mainframe, as Patrick was just saying, for primary instructor, that course will not be created in Moodle. So you won't see anything, nobody will see anything. Now, I understand, and we've dealt with this with several departments, that sometimes you don't know, or you're not ready to hire, or the hiring hasn't completed. HR is being super slow, as they never are. But you know, things are happening that are out of your control, and you can't put the instructor in yet because they're either not in the system yet and they can't be put in, or you don't know who it's going to be. So what we recommend is putting in a placeholder instructor, which could be anybody. It could be the department chair, it could be the, you know, the head of that subject area, whatever it is. Could even be a dean, don't care who it is. As long as they're in the system, to put a placeholder there so that the course is created, so that if the person needs to start working on it, like they may not be in the system, but they still want to work on their course, they can get temporary credentials and get into Moodle and start working. We want the course to be created so that we can at least see that it's there. And if that, but let me tell you a caveat to that. So if you do that and then you decide, and then you know when that person is hired or when you know who it's going to be, you're like, oh, I need to go and switch out that person in mainframe so that they're listed as primary instructors so that they get paid and yada, yada, yada. You can't just switch out that person and put a new person in. Well, you can, but don't, because that will delete the original course that was created in Moodle along with all of the roster and any work that was done in there so far. So all of those students will be purged, everything will be thrown out. And the mainframe will create a brand new course that's empty for the new person that you just put in there. And the students will be in there and they'll be like, okay, there's nothing here anymore. And they may not have started yet, but they'll still be thrown into a different course, right? So what you should do in that case, if that does happen and you need to switch out those instructors, you need to put in a ticket with the FTC. And the FTC, the Faculty Technology Center, they can do the fix on the back end so that the course isn't purged, but the right instructor is put in. There's some instruction about that on the next little page that I'm going to show you. So I do understand that those situations come up. So any questions about that specifically?
Yes, I have a question. I
Yes.
was going to type it at first.
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
So what you're saying is, of course, add the faculty member there.
Yes.
Because that's important.
Yes.
But if you want to replace, what if you put the instructor in, if you want to replace that instructor with someone else, we would have to contact FTC.
Correct. Only if it's within that 30 days where the course is created. And I think it's hard for us sometimes to think about, especially if you're only working in mainframe or if you're only working in Moodle, how those two things affect each other. Mainframe has a really important connection to Moodle, and so whatever you change in mainframe will have an effect on what happens in Moodle. So absolutely, you're correct.
Okay, and you say FTC.
Yes.
Is that like, do we call or is it an email or something?
Yes, both. Well, you can. I will send you information about the FTC and how to contact them in the follow-up email.
Right.
Yeah, and they're actually part of LSU Online now. So no matter what happens, you'll probably get back to me and Patrick in some way. But I'm just gonna put their email address there in the chat. Oh, I only sent it to David. I'm so sorry, David. I want to send it to everybody, but now David is going to have it twice. Okay, so that's their email address, and that sending them an email will automatically create a ticket. So, and they'll know, if it's a Moodle issue, they'll know who to send it to. So, but I will include all of that information in the follow-up. Yeah, great question.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions before we get back to, and this is just going to be our last little slide we're going to look at as soon as I remember how to share things. Okay. I tell you what, guys. Sometimes it's rough. Okay. Can everybody see my presentation there? Yep. Okay, great. So the last thing we're going to take a look at, and I'm also going to include this in your follow-up email, this chart, is our timeline, our process timeline. So because I was talking a little bit about how things take time, and we need at least a week before those connections can be made behind the scenes. We ask that we get this process started no later than a month before launch. If you can, as soon as you know whatever courses you're going to want to maybe cross-enroll, it can be months ahead of time. It can be terms ahead of time. I keep a spreadsheet that I share with our IT department, and so I'm gonna put it down no matter when it happens. So the earlier, the better. The issue is that when we get closer to the date that courses start, we're pushing that timeline with ITS. And so we have been in situations where the courses have not been cross-enrolled for the first day of class because those requests were not made in a timely manner. And so if you get to the end of that week before courses start and you're like, oh no, I should have cross-enrolled, that is a really big emergency situation, because we don't want the students to be logging into different sites and not know where they are, and then finding out a week later that they were actually supposed to be working over here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we can alleviate that problem. But so, because we need to set them up for success, we need to make sure that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. So I have a form that I've created. It's just a cute little Qualtrics thing. It's nothing major, where I can get all the information on the courses that you want to cross enroll, and I'm going to have that link for you in the email. And so what you would do is either the course instructor or the department staff or faculty or whoever it is that's putting in the request. It doesn't have to be faculty, it can be anyone. Fill out that request form, and it comes directly to me. I will then add those courses to my spreadsheet, and then I will communicate that with our IT person who puts those courses in the code. So we get this process started right away when you submit that, which is why I say the earlier the better. So we're all ready to go when term is about to start. So so if it's not the instructor, like I said, it can be the staff or faculty or other faculty, whoever. Complete that form. When you do that, make sure that around that same time or whatever, as soon as you can, create those entries in mainframe as soon as it opens. And make sure that you've done the designations that we talked about for the campus course, that you have put in the correct term for LSU Online, whatever letter it has to be. I don't even know. What did you say? L for fall? I don't know.
Yes, 1L.
Okay, whatever. I can do the campus ones. 1S and 2S are easy. I know those. But make sure that around the time, in a timely manner, you get those courses in, because I should be able to see them when when I'm sending in that information. Now, I understand if you want to get ahead of this and you haven't created the mainframe entries yet because it's not ready, things aren't open yet, you can go ahead and send me the form as early as you want. And then I will put like a little note in my spreadsheet that says course is not made in mainframe yet. They'll come up whenever scheduling is open or whatever, So So don't feel like you have to do those at the same time. You don't. So again, there's a note on here about whether what you would do if the teaching faculty is unknown. Contact the FTC for that switch. And then if you are doing a micro-credential, there is a Genzabar. There's the request form asks about Genzabar as well. So if you do need a Genzabar entry, I'll send you a separate form after that. So that is what we should do way ahead of time. Does anybody have any questions about any of those steps? Awesome. Then the last couple of things that need to be done are when you're getting ready, when the faculty member is getting ready to teach. So this is an important thing to communicate to the faculty member who's teaching the course. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure they'll be in the conversation about whether the course is going to be cross-enrolled, so they know what they're looking at. But there is a, this is the time when you back up your master course. Like if you're working in a master course, you would back it up and restore it into your teaching course. So remember that if you have campus students that you're moving into the LSU Online Moodle, you have 2 teaching courses. You have one that was created for your campus course, and you have one that was created for your LSU Online course, but they're only going to teach in the LSU Online course, right? But you still have this Moodle course over here in Campus Moodle. Those students are going to log in to Campus Moodle, and they're not going to be taught there. They need to know where to go. So what we've done is created a placeholder course that you can, I'm just going to slide it on over here so that you can take a look at it. Can everybody see that? LSU Online cross-enrollment placeholder course, and there's one in Campus Moodle as well, so you don't have to like log into LSU Online. I'm going to send a link to this as well in the email, and this is just something that you can paste. You can copy this and paste it into the course where the students are coming from, so that those campus students, when they log in, and just forget that the LSU Online is there. When they log in to LSU Campus Moodle, they will have a link to click on, right? Now, it's also good practice for the instructor to let the students know ahead of time, hey, we're going to be doing our instruction in this Moodle site. So just so everybody is not confused and they know what's going on, other than that, the student experience is not going to look any different whether or not they're in, this Moodle or the other Moodle. The 2 Moodles look exactly the same. So, but these students over here do need to know where to go, wherever they're coming from, right? Same thing for microcred. If they're coming from LSU Online and they're going into OCE Moodle, they need to know where to go. So this is a tool for the instructor. And again, I'll include that in the email follow-up that I send. Any questions about any of that? I know it's like a ton of information. Thank you, Rachel. 1L first fall, 1P second fall. Perfect. Don't know why, but that's it. I'm telling you, this calendar, I'm so sad that you can't see it. There, you can kind of see it. My LSU Online calendar it lives right here next to me. I can't live without it. Like, I would never know. I don't even know when the dates are. I have to look on there. So please keep that close to your heart. So
I did want to just mention one thing.
yes, please.
Any section that's designated as a B or C section in the actual course offerings online, for some reason, we're still having ITS look into it. It jumps all the way down to the list. So you can have Sociology 9000, then right under it is Sociology 2201. So just keep that in mind. And if you go there and you say, oh, I don't see the section, make sure you scroll all the way to the bottom to see it.
Right. So that's when you're for your campus courses, if you're
Correct.
designating the half term. Yeah. And we were just talking about this morning, Patrick and I. We don't really know whether or not they're going to change that, the letters in mainframe. They might just keep them that way because it's easier, but they are no longer designated that way on the academic calendar. So just keep an eye out for that. It's the terms are now first fall, second fall, but it may still be A, B, and C in in a mainframe. Don't know.
Yeah, changing mainframe code is pretty tricky, so
It's like a
it might have to stay VNC. I'm not sure.
titanic undertaking or whatever, so I don't know. So any questions about anything that we talked about today? Because I think I'm done if you're done, Patrick.
I'm good to go.
Awesome. And if you think of things, yeah, David, Patrick and I can certainly hang around and talk with you a little bit. If you guys think of anything that you want to ask, you can reply to the follow-up email. I'm going to put Patrick's email in there too, if you have any questions specifically about mainframe. And yeah, so we'll have this recorded so you can watch it again if you really want to. But we'll have also the PowerPoint and all of that documentation in there. So, and lots of links and fun things. And if you ever just forget about the process and want to ask me, to go over it again, then I'm happy to do that as well. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming, and we will see you maybe soon, maybe never. I don't know. We're going to hang around and talk to David a little bit. So thanks, guys. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Erica and Patrick.
How are you doing?
For the moment, pretty okay.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
How are you doing?
Good. Everything seems to be fine. So, can't complain.
Yeah, no, I'm one of the more fortunate people in the world. Happy-ish, healthy, and everyone around me is too.
That sounds perfect.
So I am a professor in the chemistry department.
Okay.
And I've been there for 20 plus years.
Sure.
And I have a lot of things to say, and I could just throw them all out there at once. Let's see. I have used Moodle, not very much, even though I've been here for a long time. I still use my Excel workbooks, and I never use the grades on Moodle. Yep. Pretty much, I use Moodle to disseminate information, lectures, notes, and email students and things like that.
Sure.
All right. I found myself in an interesting position. So I was asked to do an online course this summer. That is pretty much impossible, which is fine. I've dealt with deans of College of Basic Science, and we're calling this an experiment. The experiment is that I'm going to teach 150 students a lab course online.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, man is right. Yeah.
Everybody's doing experiments.
Yeah. The experiments are an experiment.
Right.
It's destined to fail. The idea is, for whatever reasons, we have decided to beta test this, just see what happens. Sure. Okay. So I know very little about Moodle, and I actually wanted to know if you are available or you knew somebody that I'd actually like to hire. The course starts in about 3 weeks, I think.
How much you paying, Dave? No, I'm kidding.
I don't. I'm not sure what the going fee is.
This is being recorded, so never mind. I can stop recording, actually.